Good morning, everybody. My name is Justin Charlton Jones. I'm one of the coaches behind the No Limits community. And I'm very pleased to say that today, as our guest on Munch and Learn, we have Shirish Chauhan, who is a digital marketing consultant with WSI. And funnily enough, those of you who have listened to the news either late last night or this morning will have heard that uh, edition 4.0 of ChatGPT was formally announced yesterday, doing all sorts of amazing things, which fits very neatly with our topic this morning, which is about AI and the implications for business owners. So I think given the currency of the of AI this morning, I was going to ask you first of all, Shirish, to just let us know, because I know you're slightly more on top of this than I am. What were the sort of the obvious things that were being announced that make 4.0 different to previous versions of ChatGPT that have been released?
I think good morning, everyone. Yes, I think a big announcement from OpenAI. The key differences really are the 4.0 version. O stands for Omni, so they're trying to embrace everything from text to voice to video. And interestingly enough, one of the things they're trying to bring into the conversation is emotion and the tone of voice. And I don't know if anyone's actually watched the announcement, which was at 6 o'clock last night, our time. And they did a couple of demos, which were, yeah, quite interesting. And if you haven't watched it, I'll send a link through later. But yeah, do watch it. It's only about 20-25 minutes and interesting demos, particularly with the tone of voice. So, I guess one of the biggest benefits for users of ChatGPT is the fact that they have announced, OpenAI have announced that they are making all of that available for free. So the latest version, ChatGPT 4.0, is available to everyone for free. So there we go.
Right. Well, I haven't seen the announcement yet myself, but they were commenting in the reports about it today that the first thing they were saying was how quick the responses were, that there was no lag in terms of when ChatGPT was asked a question, it came back immediately with the response, and that certainly the reporters were commenting on the fact that it was like having a conversation with a real person.
Yeah, sorry, I should have mentioned that one of the things you can do with the current version is you can interrupt as you can in a normal conversation. So you can interrupt the flow of conversation you're having. So the collaboration with ChatGPT, it can be interactive on a conversational level where you can interrupt and the response is phenomenally quick. And I think this really highlights one of the developments which I think people often forget. Those of you who might be aware of a company called NVIDIA, which make chips for graphic interfaces. They're the largest chip producer for AI, and they're now, I think, don't quote me on this, but I think they're in terms of market capitalization, they're the third largest in the US, only after Apple and Microsoft. So I think the capability of these chips and the processing power has increased almost a trillion-fold in the last 50 years. So you now have multi-parallel processing going on, which makes things quite amazing. And that in a way is why we have the very quick responses from the conversations you have with ChatGPT.
Yeah. So lots of interesting developments this morning. Let's bring it back down to earth and talk about how this is relevant to people running their business. So that's a very general question, but yeah, what can we use AI for? What are the really obvious applications of AI if you're a business owner?
Yeah, I think it's a very good question, and you do sort of ask yourself, so why should I bother? What is the relevance for my business? And the major benefits from using generative AI in business is gaining business efficiencies. So quite often we talk about processes and how particularly repetitive processes can be automated. And so the big difference we're seeing in application from anything from say, for instance, the medical and the financial areas are the two big users of AI. And this is not just over the last 2 years since OpenAI released ChatGPT. I think this has been providing value in data crunching and getting patterns and conclusions drawn from um, uh, uh, big data sets. And so
Mm,
that's been going on for a long time. In terms of just efficiencies within organizations, you can have, say, for instance, in our own type of industry, where we might be looking at uh, ways in which we can create content like blogs, for instance. We can use ChatGPT to generate content for websites. We can create blogs. We can write articles. In terms of personal learning, you can have you can summarize. You can use ChatGPT to summarize books, articles, making sort of learning much quicker. You can have, uh, say, design agencies where there are times when you spend a great deal of time in creating design logos, anything from logos to creative output. All of that can be made much easier and can happen much quicker. So at the end of the day, what AI will do is it'll bring efficiencies in processes and tasks within organizations. And what that will do is it will bring efficiencies in terms of operations within organizations. So if you're becoming more efficient as an organization, then what you'll get is a better return on your on investment within your organization, and make organizations more profitable. So anything from video creation to graphic creation to content creation, all of those will benefit organizations.
yeah. And so lots of thoughts going through my head at the moment, Shirish. On the first one, which because you mentioned video creation, um, I'm sure we've all seen examples of these sort of deep fake videos. I've certainly seen some sort of amusing ones of Donald Trump commenting on rugby matches and things like this, which quite patently were not him, because clearly he probably doesn't even know what rugby is. But nevertheless, with the improvements in video creation, and this is slightly an aside, is there a danger that we put the ability to create deep fakes into the hands of almost everybody with access to Chat GPT?
Uh, a very, very good point, Justin. And I think when I talk about AI and where we are and what's happening, I mean, it's worth putting a little bit of context on the fact that it's only over the last 2 years since the launch of ChatGPT by AI that everyone's got really excited about AI because we have the ability to generate content and things are developing at a phenomenal rate. We as an organization have a weekly update. Every Monday evening, we have an update in terms of, catching up on what developments are happening. We're a global organization, so our chief AI officer is based in Toronto. He runs the sessions, and there's just so much activity. And when I talk about OpenAI, one of the things I talk about is we're heading into the Wild West scenario. So over the next uh, at least a year, maybe 2 years, we are going to have lots of not very pleasant news, and that will be news like, for instance, I think we had a well-publicized uh, um, uh, video of Martin Lewis, who most of you will probably know, the money-saving expert, um, generated, which was a fake video, and lots of people got convinced by it. We had Andrew Marr, who's a journalist who was editor of The Independent, then worked for BBC, promoting a financial product, a deep fake video. People actually purchased the financial products, ended up losing their money. So, yeah, I think we will have to be extremely careful in terms of what you use and what you believe, because it's
Hmm.
uh, I think tread with care and be cautious.
Yeah.
And I think we hear of examples, say for instance with um, um, certain companies. We dealt with a company in the US a few weeks ago. They wanted to bring AI within the organization so anyone can ask the AI questions about the organization, which sounds great. But what they actually neglected to do was confine the answers to those to things which are not sensitive and publicly sensitive. So information about the company was available to everyone, including the very sensitive information. So you have to be extremely careful
Yeah.
how you use.
Right. On another note, so some of my clients have used ChatGPT recently for things like, I don't know, writing job descriptions, um, creating process. So they get ChatGPT to write it, and then they will use that as their start point and review it and improve it. One of the impressions I have is that quite often when people use ChatGPT in business at the moment, the output that is generated is not as good as it could be because people don't know how to instruct ChatGPT in such a way as to maximize the potential of ChatGPT to create the thing that they're looking for. And is that something that you feel is probably an accurate assessment of how a lot of people use it right now?
Absolutely. I think that's again a very, very good point, in that people often think in terms of uh, people being redundant with AI coming into effect. But what happens is exactly what you just outlined, Justin, in that you have people using generative AI. They create the content. Sometimes they don't review the content.
Mm.
Now, what you need to do is you need to make sure that you have the jargon is you use the right prompts. Prompts are what you feed into ChatGPT and the equivalent versions elsewhere. And then what you get is the output. The output needs to be refined. And the whole of the area of prompt generation or prompt creation is a brand new skill. And it is something which will gain in interest by all organizations. They'll have to create experts who are right and relevant for their own industries and getting the right prompts. The second skill set which will be required will be to make sure that the output from any AI generated content is fit for purpose and relevant for your industry. So those are two areas which are going to be key going forward. So yes, you're absolutely key to get the right prompts into feeding into a content generation.
Yeah. And I'm going to do a quick plug here because this I found this a bit of an eye opener myself. So Shirish's company WSI have published on a regular basis. From what he was saying to me previously, it gets updated almost every other day with the speed at which AI is advancing. But they publish a book on their website which is about how to use AI. And I had a look through it, and I was amazed at the potential and the depth and complexity of the responses that you can get AI to generate. So I'll just read out, for example, there's a section in this booklet which describes the type of prompts that you could use in certain situations to generate a response from ChatGPT. And so one here, for example, is write an in-depth analysis of the Canadian tutoring industry, including an overview of current trends, challenges, and opportunities. Incorporate relevant data and statistics to support your analysis. Provide a list of key players in the industry and a short and long-term forecast. Explain any potential impact of current events or future developments on the industry. When writing this article, ensure that you use a professional and informative tone and that your writing style is clear and concise. You may also want to consider including case studies or interviews with industry experts to add depth to your analysis. Now, I would never have dreamt of writing an instruction for ChatGPT as long and as complex as that. But clearly you're saying, write this, stick it in there, and it will come back with a report. And of course, I believe you can also specify the length of words that you want. So you can say, please make this report 1,000 words or no more than whatever.
Absolutely, and I think I'm glad you read out that actually this wasn't rehearsed. I wasn't expecting this, so it's a good for you to actually give that example. That example is really good because it gives you an idea of the level of detail you need to input. It is the old thing: garbage in, garbage out. So you need to make sure that what you're inputting into your generative AI is actually as precise as possible, and then you need to refine the output. So you can add a tone of voice, you can make it humorous if you want, you can make it sort of professional and information provision type of style if you want. It's all of those nuances which you specify in the in the prompts. So the prompts are absolutely key, and that's why I was saying that the a brand new skill set and job opportunities are going to be for those who have got the ability to write the right prompts and refine those to get content which is fit for purpose and relevant for the industry. And this book, by the way, sorry, I don't think you mentioned it, it's an e-book. So we released the first version in February last year. And as Justin mentioned, we just released the fourth edition about 2 weeks ago. So it's constantly being updated.
Will you have to update it again after yesterday's announcement?
Well, yeah, things are always well. I'm sure there'll be a lot of news from Google today at their conference when that's done. So there'll be. I mean, Google have actually been a bit slow off the mark, and yeah. So it's interesting. They're very much playing catch up, but I'm guessing they'll get there. One of the very interesting things we heard yesterday was an example of where real world changes will actually happen, because what we saw an example of from a tool from Google was looking at interactions, chemical interactions between different cells within the human body, and this is sort of leading to much quicker output from research, and so we can almost see sort of cures for things like certain types of cancer coming through from simulations and the use of AI in medical fields. So the potential is just enormous.
Yeah. And I think what a lot of business owners probably don't realize is the enormity of that scope. Because looking at the ebook that you talked about, just looking at the content, you've got a list of prompts, for example. So prompts on writing good prompts. You've got prompts for business and strategy, prompts on productivity and time saving, content writing, learning, personal and relational, fitness, health and lifestyle, frameworks for custom prompts. But I think the biggest issue for most business owners is understanding that actually the potential for them to use AI within their business is almost unlimited, and that actually, rather than thinking where can I use ChatGPT, they should be thinking, where should I not be using ChatGPT? Is there any limit to where I can actually use ChatGPT within my business to generate any sort of content that they might happen to need?
Yeah, as I said, the primary benefit of AI within business is going to be to look for opportunities where you can run your organization more efficiently. It brings in huge efficiencies within organizations. And one of the things we do is we work with clients where we do an analysis, an AI business analysis, where we try and get some idea of how your particular organization might benefit from use of AI. And it looks through areas like leadership and strategy. It looks through HR. It looks through sales and marketing. So yeah, and then we can make recommendations in terms of where the efficiencies can take place. And of course, rest assured, if you're not doing it, some of your competitors surely will be.
Now, I appreciate that you're you're a marketer rather than a solicitor or an HR person. Has AI reached a point where you could actually ask it to write a job description, not a job description, a contract, for example, or some form of HR document, which would actually be legally watertight, which would could pass the scrutiny of an experienced HR director?
Already being done. And I think you have to bear in mind the provisos which I mentioned earlier. Get the right prompts, get the right review and refine, and then very important, make sure that somebody with knowledge of the industry is actually reading through the final output. We have say solicitors who have we've been talking about AI, and one of the easiest ways of incorporating AI, particularly within the service industry, is having a chatbot on your website. And they are very traditional conservative solicitors who get scared about anything technology. And they mentioned the fact that SRA, the regulatory body, has issued a paper with guidance on what you can and can't do on websites. But at the end of the day, you can set parameters for a chatbot to say that only use the content which is available on your website, and hopefully what you have on your website has been vetted and is suitable and appropriate. So if it's learning from questions being asked about content within the website, then it will provide the right sort of responses.
Yeah. So thinking about business owners, the obvious areas where ChatGPT can be used as far as I can see, you've talked about efficiency. So getting it to write process, getting it to produce content, particularly for marketing, possibly for for websites, things like that. Creative output, you talked about as well, and I've seen examples where you can you describe a type of image that you might, because obviously there's an issue for a lot of people around stock photography images, whether you use your own or whether you have to pay somebody for a fee to use a professionally created photographic image in something. But ChatGPT is getting to the point now where it virtually makes those banks of sort of photographic images redundant, because you only have to describe one and it can create it almost immediately for you. Are there other areas apart from these more sort of creative marketing based applications that you think people should be using ChatGPT for?
There are you can think of, say, you can use ChatGPT for generating ideas. If you use the right prompts and you're stuck with I don't know, maybe product development, or think of a startup where you can use ChatGPT for generating ideas. You can get sort of company names, so that sort of creative process can be done. You can get down to a point where you can actually generate business plans using content creation through ChatGPT. So in terms of possibilities within your business, there are huge number of possibilities. You can I think the point you made earlier, Justin, about there are lots of areas within business where AI can be used. In fact, there are few you can think of which where there is no relevance of AI, but there I can't think of anything immediately. But so just using well, I guess first of all identifying where the potential is, and then using generative collaboration with ChatGPT will provide you with some value. So almost every business. I mean, for instance, we're talking to a firm of architects, international architects, offices in 3 countries around the world, and how quickly you can use, say, something like space utilization in when you're designing buildings. So you can maximize the use of space and still keep the footprint of the design. You can generate plans which are based on what you've specified as requirements for a particular type of space or building. So, you know, the potential is just huge. And these are all things which will save huge amounts of time, because design work and for a firm of architects takes a huge amount of time. And this is where efficiencies within the business can be realized.
Hmm. That's yes, I hadn't even thought about that. That is quite amazing. I'm very conscious that we've reached the half-hour point. In fact, we're slightly over. I think this is a topic that we could probably continue talking about all day, given the opportunity. But I'd like to thank Shirish for coming along and talking to us about the latest developments in AI. And I think my takeout from what you've been describing is that at the moment, the biggest limitation on a business owner's ability to use ChatGPT in the business is simply their own imagination. And I think the key area for people to be able to really use it effectively is understanding that process of prompting, the level of detail that's required in order to point ChatGPT in the right direction. And what struck me most when I was looking at the booklet that you've written was that how, and perhaps this shouldn't have been a surprise to me, but not being a computer person, was how the prompts that you have given as examples sound exactly like the briefings that you might give to a junior member of staff to go away and write this document for them. So, and that I thought was the most interesting aspect of it, that just pretend you've got another member of your team in front of you, and you're giving them some detailed instructions on how you want them to go away and write a document on this, or produce a report on that, or whatever it is. And actually, that's what ChatGPT will then do for you, but in a fraction of the time that it would take a member of your team.
Absolutely. I think, can I just have very briefly share a graph which I don't know if I can. By the way, just while I get that up, it's worth just mentioning, if anyone, our ebook on ChatGPT is available for free. All I need is your just provide Karen with your email address and requirement, and we'll send you a copy. This is the speed of. I think it's just worth sharing this. Sort of, we're looking at 1 million users or downloads or whatever is relevant for the industry. So for Airbnb, it'll be 1 million nights booked or whatever. So you can see how, hopefully you can see it. So Netflix at the top, 3.5 years to get to 1 million. ChatGPT 5 days. Okay, that's when it was released in I think it was October or November, about 1.5 years ago.
Yeah, it's
so it's just puts things into perspective.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Well, I fear we'll have to leave it there. Thank you very much indeed for attending, or indeed listening to this on catch up, and thank you very much again to Shirish for his time this morning. And I'd like to wish all of you a very good day.
Yes, absolute pleasure. I think it's such an exciting area to be in, so dynamic. It's yeah, as I said, you can talk about it, and we'll have more to talk about at the end of today in terms of what Google have announced after OpenAI last night. So yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everybody.